Hello, hello, hello. So I was trying to connect to something, but I wasn't able to connect. How's everyone doing? How's your week going? Please answer the question about your week because I actually have a topic I absolutely need to connect to. So,
It's been a
how was
busy
your
week,
week?
man. I'm tired. It's been a busy week, but
It's
all
been a
good
crazy
because
week.
your president, Candace, your president is showing his true colors.
Nope,
Yeah.
nope. How was your
No
week?
pun
How was
intended.
your week?
Right.
That's it. That's it. How was your week?
Are you asking me, Candace?
Yeah, that was a bit not focusing. So how was your week?
You know what happens once you ask me?
Uh-oh.
Are you asking me?
I think
Can I
you froze
talk?
there a little bit. You froze there a little bit. Are you there,
All right.
Mike?
How about now? I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Sure.
Y'all can't hear me, can you?
Sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Oh, we can hear. Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Listen, I've had a rough week. I had a rough week.
one.
It's been a terrible week. So, you know, Trump's been talking about crime or whatever, but this week, my niece got shot. I'm wearing her hat. Her name is Isaiah Dixon, in honor of her. She left this at my house. I taught her all she knows about basketball. She was shot at 3 times by a young man arguing with his girlfriend, and he shot inside the house, ran out of the house. Then we tried to come back inside. Her and her friend tried to hold the door, and he shot her through the screen. She's alive and well. She's going to be scarred in the jaw, in the shoulder, and in the hip. So she'll probably never be able to play basketball again. But I want to also talk about the issues that we face in our community. With Trump wanting to bring federal troops in, but not giving us the resources and the money to make sure our police are able to do the work they're supposed to do and they need to do. And what we're dealing with in our community right now is an aspect of idle hands are a devil's workshop, right? We don't have any summer programs for you. We don't have any job programs for you. We don't have skills programs. All these things haven't been funded properly. I remember back in the day, we had all these programs, so youth were doing something. They were too busy. So when they got home at night, they were tired. Now they're running the streets with full of energy, full of bullet clips, and deciding to let those clips off in the forms of violence in the cities from Chicago to Flint to Washington, D.C. and other places. And we got that our community, but when you don't have the resources, you deal with what we deal with. Yeah.
I hate him.
Can you hear me?
I hate him. Yeah, Mike, we got to work on your microphone. You're bouncing in and out so bad. You need to go sit in the bathroom or somewhere where you get better signal, man.
All right, I'm gonna go out and come back. I'm gonna go out and come back.
Just his heart goes out to you, Mike, and I'm gonna tell Mike again when he comes back.
Okay.
But I wanted to talk about something a little differently today. And one of the things I realized is you nor Mike can focus when I say how's your week. You all start going into all of this other stuff rather than how your week is. So as you all know, that unemployment is coming to an end this week, or it's slated to come to an end for millions, literally millions of people. And one of the things that was passed back in May was the HEROES Act, and it was passed on the House side, and it's been sitting in the Senate since May. The Senate literally went on vacation in the middle of a pandemic with millions of Americans' lives in their hands. Literally, their money, their livelihood, everything. In the middle of a pandemic, they went on vacation instead of voting on this act, right? They didn't come back. knowing that it's going to expire this week and say, oh, we think we've got something figured out, except for we don't want to give people the 600 to continue weekly for the unemployment, even though there's still millions of people unemployed due to COVID. And even though a lot of the eviction moratoriums have ended and all that stuff, right? Then they're saying, well, maybe we'll give them $100 or $200 a week. Keep in mind, minutes that while they were on vacation, not voting on something that is affecting the country, while they still got paid, they still had their health insurance, they didn't miss a check, they didn't miss a dollar, but they thought enough of themselves to go on vacation. Then when they come back off vacation, they come back with the mindset of, oh, we don't want to give them $600 because they're saying they're making more sitting at home making on unemployment than they would working. So it takes away their incentive for them to go back to work. Rather than, maybe we should lift the federal minimum wage so this isn't a problem and people want to continue working as they've been working. They say we'll give them less unemployment so they can go back out there, continue breaking their backs, barely making any money.
Yeah.
At this point, I am sick of the United States Senate. I'm sick of them because that is disgusting. And then not only that, but after you've had this on your desk since May, you then go on vacation. Now you want to go and wait over the weekend like you know this money is not about to run out for people. You're disgusting, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Well, Candace, we know this. Remember this. Let me make the statement here quick, Mike. We teach people how to treat us. See, the Senate knows what they can get away with. They know that their constituents have bought into their line of reasoning, hook, line, and sinker, even though it works against their best interest.
Let me tell you why
they can. But let me finish. They know they can do this with the American people, and they're getting away with it as it relates to the American people. Now, when and if the American people rise up and share the same sentiments that you just shared, Candace, that's when they'll stop doing it. In fact, when you throw the bums out of office, that's
Let me tell you why I know you're right, Vic. Let me tell you why I know you're right. Because even as we're talking about this, Carl is saying that's not true. 300 a week is coming for unemployment. It's not vacation. It's talking to constituents. Carl, they were on vacation.
You don't even believe that, man. You don't even believe that, dude. What you talking about? Right. You don't believe that crap. Right. They don't care about you either, Carl. I mean, to be real, let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100. They don't care about you. They don't.
Listen, for the last 8 years, even during Obama's administration, from 2010, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me better now? So since 2010, Mitch McConnell has been running this country. And he's been running it in the ground. And with the Senate, he's been blocking, putting in judges who he wants to put in, putting in programs that he wants to put in. And I was talking about earlier about the fact that I was wearing this hat, if you can hear me, if I'm not blinking out. I'm wearing this hat in remembrance of my to my niece, Isaiah Dixon, who was shot this week on Tuesday morning. And this is her hat, and she's left it at my house, and she's been here several times, all throughout her life. I taught her everything she knows about basketball, and I'm hoping she gets a speedy recovery. And she was shot here in Michigan. But Mitch McConnell, here's Trump who wants to bring in federal troops to the city of Flint, but won't fund our police properly. He wants to bring in federal troops, but he won't fund youth programs so kids have something to do at night. He'll bring in troops to protect federal buildings, but he won't put in jobs programs. This is the president we have. This is Mitch McConnell and his staff, and this is what they do.
So this real quick, and you left, but Jeff did say that he was sorry to hear that, Mike. And so he did extend some well wishes your way. And we do have a couple of Facebook comments. Bobby said that the GOP doesn't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They don't care.
And Bobby also said that he hopes she gets well soon. And then Carl talking about this is the way the sausage is made. It's not pretty, but this is how it's done. Carl, not today. I'm telling you, not today. Because this makes no sense. What you will not justify is the fact that they literally do not miss a paycheck when they go on these vacations.
Absolutely. There you go. Absolutely.
With millions of people's lives in their hands. And rather than vote and get it done. They're playing games, they're grandstanding, they're trying to add all of this extra stuff, trying to get all of this, all of this other stuff slid in there, as opposed to doing what you're supposed to do. If you follow the money from the very beginning of the first stimulus check, you'll realize a lot of companies that didn't need that money got millions and millions of stimulus dollars.
Right.
And a lot of their buddies are taken care of. A lot of it was padded. So I'm not playing this game with defending them today. I'm not doing it today because they're wrong. There's no way around it. They are dead wrong. There's no real conversation you can have other than they sat there for 30, 40 years. And in 30, 40 years, the only thing they've learned how to do is screw you over even more. At this point, it is a class issue. Like Mike said, rather than properly fund local police, or rather than make sure that not only they're properly funded, but they're properly trained to deal with situations, to de-escalate situations, to make sure that law enforcement has everything that it needs. You're going to send in some troops when you could have spent that money doing something else. You are literally turning your army against your people. That is what you're doing. And we're not going to sugarcoat it and act like that's not what they're doing. You're trying to cause civil unrest. You're trying to cause a problem. You're treating people like animals. You're treating them like they're the enemy. You're treating them like terrorists when you are the ones who are doing the terrorizing. Whether it's from the padding that you're doing in your pocket, taking it from American people, whether it's keeping federal minimum wage at $7.25 for over a decade.
Decades. That's right.
Over a
decade.
And then saying, well, the states have opportunity to raise the minimum wage however they want to. And if those states choose not to, and they choose to go with your minimum wage, what happens to those states that have not chosen to raise the minimum wage and all those people are still making $7.25 an hour? What happens to those people that they had 3 full-time jobs, they still couldn't live off that $7.25 an hour? What happens to those people? And then not only that, but you are complicit in the fact that it takes the state so long to raise the minimum wage, because as far as they're concerned, they're already over your $7.25. So this $9.56 that we're giving them that they still can't live off of should be enough. You are supposed to be leading, not lagging. You're the federal government. You are supposed to be leading, not lagging. Now you're helping the penny pinch people as well. It's all a mess. I'm sick of it all. Everybody's got to go. I'm tired. That's it. Go vote. And then they need term limits. This is why my argument for term limits is so strong. You can say they have all of this knowledge. Well, for 20, 30, 40 years, you've been sitting here. All you've done is use the knowledge against us and pad your pockets. It's over for all of that. That's it.
You know, Candace, I think too many people really don't believe in we the people. Too many American citizens really don't. They haven't grasped that concept of we the people. They really haven't. People are into hero worship, right? They're looking for heroes. It's really tantamount to the Messiah complex in political terms. That's really what it is. But these people have shown us, as you so eloquently pointed out, over and over and over again, that they don't care about the American people, black, white, yellow, brown, or red. They don't. All they care about is lining their pockets. That's it. Period.
Right. And Bobby had a good point when he said feds are breaking laws by hiding who they are. How do we know the KKK is not hauling off people? That's why they must be identifiable.
So let me speak to that. That's the point I was trying to bring up. I think somebody was trying to distinguish between the fact that I would use the word troops, and he said that they were police. And I understand his point to a certain extent. But troops are a group of men. We can have state troopers, police that work as a troop. That's a group that comes together to move forward or what have you, and move as a military fashion or move as a military unit. And that's what these people are doing there. In unmarked vehicles, undefinable gear. We don't know what group they're from. Are you from the DEA? Are you from the CIA? Who knows what group you're from? These are tactics in Putin's playbook, and I've been saying this for the longest. This is Putin's playbook. And we got to understand that Putin's playbook is being played out on American streets in Portland, Oregon. We ain't talking about Detroit. We ain't talking about Chicago. This is a test. If you can do it in Portland, you can do it in Detroit, because nobody will care about Chicago or Baltimore. They don't care about Portland. Literally what
they Portland's mayor the other night. They gassed Portland's mayor. They sprayed him. And
sure they
moms,
did.
The wall of moms,
sure
they sprayed
did.
both of them.
Sure
so
they did.
Sprayed them what you think they'll do in Chicago?
Absolutely, they'll shoot them. They'll shoot them. And see, we have to realize what's happening here. This is you got to put these cities in unrest so that they won't come out and vote. People be on a curfew, and people will be under lock and key during the November election. But he's escalating things. So as soon as you say, "Hey, we're sending in troops," then everybody gets in an uproar. So we come out on the streets and want to fight. And now it creates more tension in the community. This is by design. This is a takeaway from what Candace talked about.
Can I go back to my original statement of I am going back to blaming the United States Senate because they had an opportunity to remove him and they didn't.
Well, I've been talking about Mitch McConnell's name. I've been screaming his name for weeks on this show, talking about how he is the problem. He's been the problem since 2010 when they changed the Congress over and the Senate over and got the Democrats out when we passed health care. For 10 years, Mitch McConnell's done everything he can, first to beat Barack Obama back and beat all his policies back, now to beat any policies back that would help poor people, people of color, women, and anything like that. And I want to talk about women too. I want to talk about women too, Candace.
But this is the thing that Vic and I have been talking about for 2 years now. Is about classism, and how it's very real, and how people really need to focus. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you're white, if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're black, if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, if you're poor. We have to be clear. And Mike, I know you're gonna say, yeah, it does matter about your color. I'm not saying completely take racism off. What I'm saying is people keep ignoring the fact that if you are not wealthy, you do not matter, and that is a problem.
Well, let me say this though. Let me say this. You talk about classism, but I want to bring up one of the other issues also. This is why I have on my so-called white beater. This is the American term, a T-shirt, because this mentality from the president is nasty woman and low IQ woman is trickling down to his other mates. Now, did you hear about the fact that Congressman Yoho, who's a Yahoo, called AOC the B word? Did you hear about that?
I saw that. Yeah.
So Yoho called AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a B word in the halls of Congress.
Called her an effing B. You got to say
This is true.
That's right.
This is true.
Every part of all the keyword names that we talk about, a leftist and a liberal and a Democrat, because they always cut the word off. Whenever somebody, I want to give people an example here. Whenever you hear somebody say Democrat Party, they are being facetious. They are being mean. They're being nasty. This is the Democratic Party. They're Democratic members. You got to put the ick on the end, but they're not doing that. They're just called Democrat. A Democrat. He's a Democrat Party member, and that's a slight knock on people. And whenever you hear people do that, you got to be careful with them. But this man called her all kind of names, and they had some words, and then he called the FB word that Candace was just talking about. And I want women to understand that they're not just doing it in the halls of Congress. They're doing it in Portland. These moms were lining up with their yellow shirts on, protecting their children while the children were protesting. They sprayed and maced them. White women, arm in arm, they maced them, flash grenaded them, and sent tear gas their way. What are we talking about in America when this is going on in Portland and coming soon to a city near you in November, right before the election?
So that, Mike, very true, because you see the way that they treat Governor Whitmer. You see the way that they treat, how they treat Speaker Pelosi. It's basically, you don't know your place woman.
Exactly.
We have a huge problem here. Okay, this country is deteriorating, and it's deteriorating because of an archaic ideology that no longer suits anyone, didn't suit anyone before, but now everyone is vocal about it. And so you have some people that are trying to hold on to a bunch of disgusting beliefs because they feel that's where their power and their authority comes from. And so at this point, they take their disgusting words, such as him calling her an effing B and saying, oh no, I was being passionate. At no point in your passion about any position, if you are an intelligent human being, do you need to degrade someone or speak about someone like that? No, you were disrespecting her because that's what you think of her, because in your mind, she doesn't know her place. That's
right. That's right. That's right.
So
And
the
that's
Dems, folks, the Dems are going to have to organize, man. We know that this is part of Trump's playbook. He failed regarding the COVID-19 virus. He has no plans for restoring the economy. His numbers are down in the polls, and quite frankly, Trump is playing the race card right now. This is it for him. As you pointed out, Mike, he's playing. In addition to playing for Putin's playbook, he's also playing for Richard Nixon's playbook as well, in terms of being the law and order president. This is it for him.
That's the race card, though. I think he's throwing any and everything out there that he thinks will stick at this point.
But okay. Does he have a plan for the economy? No.
Yeah.
Does he have a plan for COVID-19? No. His numbers are down on the poll. Yes. What plan does he have other than that, Candace?
No,
what plan does he have? Because remember, Trump is the anti-Obama. That's why he was elected to the office in the first place.
I'm saying to you,
what else does he bring to the table?
That's not the only card he's throwing, though. He's throwing.
Okay, what's another one? What's another one? No,
I wasn't saying that he wasn't throwing.
That's his main one because he's driving division in this country.
Right? No, I'm not. And he sees that that's not working. And so, like Mike said, and so now because it's not working like he thinks it should. So now what he's doing? Come on now. Obviously not.
No, here's my point. What I'm saying is that, and I think we're in agreement here. I think he's going to try to use voter suppression.
But if that doesn't tell you, again, he's releasing unidentified troops in Portland, Oregon. So if that doesn't tell you that it's not working the way that he thinks it should work, that is your clue that it's not working.
I don't know, Candace. Maybe I'm a bit jaded. But don't count him out. Because he's fighting for his political life.
No,
he's fighting for. Let me finish my point here real quick. He's fighting for his political life, and the GOP is going to use every trick in the book. We've already seen it in Florida, in the midterm elections that was stolen. Right. We saw it in Georgia. Same thing. They stole that election from Stacey Abrams. We saw it in North Carolina with the misuse of voting ballots. Right. Absentee ballots. We've seen this. They're going to pull every trick in the book. And like I said before, y'all, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a replay of what happened in 2004 between Trump and Gore. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm looking for a messy dogfight type of election like that.
But what I'm saying to you is we're saying the same thing, except for I'm saying to you what he's trying isn't working in the way that he feels it should be working, which is why he's sending troops into Portland, Oregon.
But remember, Trump is a street fighter, Candace.
Because
he's a street fighter.
Quick, Vic, let me finish my point. He wants to scare them into no longer standing up. He wants to put the division back in place. So that's the whole thing for the troops. Absolutely. I'm saying what he's doing is not working in the way that he wants it to. So now he's gone to his next plan of let me send these troops in to place these fear in these people's hearts. So now that they're scared for their children's safety. So if it has to come down to my children and their safety or you, I'm going to choose my children. And it's nothing against you, but I'm going to make sure my children live. Same thing but I'm with Mike. Once they go into Chicago, you better believe they're not going to be as gentle as they were in Portland.
No.
Once they go into Chicago,
that's part of the plan. That's the whole plan.
Once they go into Chicago or Detroit, once they go into Chicago or Detroit, those people in Chicago and Detroit will be lucky if they get pulled off the street. They're probably people right where they stand.
I'm in agreement. We're saying the same thing different ways. We're saying the same thing different ways. But look here, Mike. He's looking for that street fight. Trust me. This is what he
hold on. So
fight.
That's perfectly what I'm talking about. Now, they would say that I'm dressed like a thug today. I got my hat on and my shirt. But these are political thugs. These are literal thugs coming into our communities and taking over. This is thuggery 101. You come in and you go in and you talk crazy to people. You knock them down. You talk about how they're the enemy, all these things, and then you create chaos in their communities. This is political. This is thuggery. He's the anarchist, but he calls everybody else an anarchist. He's the anarchist for America right now. We're not careful in our country right now. We're going to go down a slippery slide, which we're headed that way now. We are on the down slope now. And if we don't correct this, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in trouble. This is political. This is political thuggery. And then I would take a slight issue with what you said, Professor, about he's fighting for his political life.
There
He's fighting for his literal life because he's going to get locked up for all the crimes that he's doing. Every week there's a new crime. He tried to get the golf course.
Same point.
Bobby said yes.
Well, I mean,
he wants a race war. Bobby said yes, he is. He wants a race war.
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't even know
that's what Bobby Rush said too. Bobby Rush said the same thing. Bobby Rush, the former Panther, the congressman out of Chicago, made the same point just the other day. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, see, first of all, he wants to control. He's a controlling person, so he wants to be in control. And now his followers, his devotees, they want a race war. So he'll use their language just like Putin will. They'll use his language to get the means done that they want done.
Plausible denial.
But Steve Bannon wants
to call it plausible denial. In other words, we say that I'll throw the rock and hide my hand, right?
And hide my hand. Absolutely.
I think at the end of the day, you're dealing with a narcissistic madman who realizes his time is up and there's no way for him to win a fair fight. So it's just going to be a whole bunch of madness that he throws into the mix to make sure that he gets the outcome he wants. Because like Mike said, the minute he is out of office, if he does not, I'm telling you, when he loses, what he better do is the day after he loses the election, just hop on a plane and concede from another country. Concede from Russia. Because that is the only way. That is the only way this scenario doesn't end with him in prison. He's going to have to hop on a plane and concede from Russia.
I'm going to make a prediction, Candace and Mike. He ain't going to jail.
Right.
If he loses, I want to bet y'all he ain't going to jail.
Just like Snyder, you know what?
What happened to Snyder?
I listen.
What happened to Roger Stone?
I don't. Well, let me say this.
What happened to all the Trump's men? Except for Cole.
Here's why I agree with you, Minister Vic, and here's why I agree with you and Candace on the problem with Democrats, right? And the Democratic Party. What? They're soft.
Wait a minute. Mike is being critical of the Democratic Party.
I said it. Yes. Listen, the Democratic Party and Joe Biden and the rest of them, Nancy Pelosi and all, does not have the cojones to put this man in prison. So I would side with you. I would put that side bet. I mean, I think he could go to jail. It could happen, man. But not just him. Let me say this: you got to put William Barr in jail. You got to put Flynn in jail. You got to put his daughters and his sons in jail. And white folks don't have a stomach for that. And I mean, Democratic white folks, they don't have a stomach for that. Professor, I don't think he'll probably end up going to jail. So we got to go to jail.
Mike, you kind of breaking up a little bit, man.
Let me read a couple of Facebook comments because he's breaking up. So let me read a couple of Facebook comments. Somebody said Donald Trump is doing this on purpose by sending in his secret police in black unidentified cars to communities nationwide to create controversy. Carl said, Mike, not about control. Trump has been given responses to be a law in order president because local Democrat mayors have failed. He is saving this country. If you are right, Trump is not going to jail. Bobby said this is why he wants the race war. He will not win, but they will not leave the White House. He will get his supporters to fight.
I gotta say it.
Bobby said, I am white folk, and I would have put him in jail a long time ago.
But I gotta say this, y'all. I mean, when have we seen this happen? Whereby you have a person like Donald Trump who commits crimes, who is rich, in addition to being a white man, who goes to jail or prison.
I need y'all to know if he could, this is how bad of a man Putin is in Russia. Putin said, you know what, I'm going to stay president for a little minute, and y'all just don't deal with it. And you know what? Instead of them fighting him, they all quit. Did we not see it? They quit. They said, you know what? Don't have it. No. We're not going to fight you. And my thing is, Trump, if he could pull that same jack move on the people, he would. I think even when we look at how they're covering up all of these crazy cases, how they're saying, who's that, Cohen? They're saying Cohen doesn't need to go back to jail. That's unfair treatment to him. First of all, the fact that he got out of prison when he was supposed to be in prison was a privilege. And now to say he can't go back and that's not fair to him. What about all those people that are currently sitting in prison who have not done the things that he has done? Like they literally shown themselves to be enemies of this country with the way that they move and the people they align themselves with. You have people in prison for lesser charges who didn't get out because of COVID. And so now you're talking about, oh, their crimes weren't that bad. It wasn't vicious or it wasn't. Do you realize their crimes are the things that help tear up the very fabric of this country? Y'all claim to love this flag so much. Y'all claim to want to go down for this country so bad and be just so patriotic. But when you've got somebody that is literally turning this into a dictatorship on you, you're silent or you're defending him. This man was against masks from the beginning. Now, all of a sudden, he's talking about wearing masks, and you've got his people saying, oh, that's smart. He's trying to fight the deep state. That's the way that you stop mail-in voting. People did not just start absentee ballot voting, first of all, so start there. Second of all, you cannot blame anybody for the fact that you ignored a pandemic, that you downplayed it, that you said that the summer months were cleared up, that you downplayed masks, that you didn't want to do any more testing because it showed how wrong you were, that you sat up here and told people to inject themselves with UV lights and bleach. Nobody's making that up. Those are all statements you made. Those are all things about people. If every time you've talked for the past 4 years, somebody's got to say what you meant to say, if you didn't get any sharper in the way that you spoke, what are you doing? What have you been doing for 4 years? I'm trying to tell you, that kind of attitude is the problem with America now. That's the problem. That is the problem. Thinking you are entitled and untouchable, thinking you can make whatever decisions, thinking you can blatantly lie to people's faces. This is pathetic, and we look stupid on a global level. That is what it is.
So Candace, let me ask you a question. Candace. So what do you think the Democratic Party needs to do in order to win this election? Because this is a critical election. We all agree. America's at a crossroads here. What happens? What would allow the Democratic Party to be able to win this election?
Well, at this point, it's too late to go back and put somebody else up. So
Biden is ahead in the polls, though, Candace. Biden is ahead in the polls.
By
11 to 13 points in some cases?
I mean, listen, but what I'm saying to you is, and that was a joke. That was me messing with Mike because I wanted to see if Mike was going to go super Democrat. So that was me messing with Mike. He didn't take the bait. What I'm saying to you is, at this point, people, at some point, and we want to say, what do the Democrats need to do? What do the American people need to do? Okay?
Right.
You need to get out and vote. I can't say this enough. I can't say that, name recognition, that's not enough. We need to be educated. We need to be informed. We need to do this ourselves. I keep explaining to people, it is we, the people. The government is not in charge. We're in charge. They are put in place to do the will of the people. I keep saying that when they're campaigning, that is them interviewing for a job. And then once you get through that first primary, that is your second interview. You got through that first primary, you're now on your second interview. And then in the general election is when you are hired. You are hired to do a job. One thing that we did understand in the state of Michigan before Snyder changed the rules, because we knew he was going to be on some mess, is we understood that we recall you. Snyder changed the recall laws because Snyder knew he was on some mess.
Right.
But if Michigan don't understand nothing else, Michigan knows how to fire you. We know I'm like, no, we're going to recall you. We will recall you. That's it. We're done here. We don't want you. What I'm saying is, when you're saying what do the Dems need to do, what do the American people need to do? We have something that we see is not working. We have something that we see is divisive. We have something that we see is globally embarrassing. We have something that the economy is out of here, and it has nothing to do with the pandemic. The economy was faltering before the pandemic. However, if he was as politically as astute as he thinks he is, he would have taken this opportunity to blame it on the pandemic, but he didn't. But what I'm saying is, the economy, he was crashing the economy before the pandemic. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not an excuse. Healthcare, they were tearing that up before the pandemic. So that's not an excuse.
Absolutely.
And another thing though, and I want to say even before this person got in office, because Carl used the argument that unemployment, there's always been stopgaps in unemployment. First of all, the unemployment numbers have gone down. But what I will say, even if we did want to go with that argument, Carl, is you've proved my point even more of the fact that people don't need to sit there for 30, 40 years doing the same thing, building on a system that's not working, recycling the same methods that are tried and untrue for the people. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, listen. Y'all can hear me, right? I'm back in.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a president who's running a criminal enterprise. He's running a criminal enterprise at this point. He's funneling money to his businesses. He's funneling money to his daughter's businesses. He's funneling money to his son-in-law's businesses. He's funneling money to his friends' businesses.
Let's not hide the fact that Ivanka has the patent on some voting machines. We can't ignore that.
I agree. So he's running a criminal enterprise right now as we speak as president of the United States of America. And that criminal enterprise extends to bringing in federal troops, to getting his house fixed up in Mar-a-Lago, to getting his golf course fixed up in England and other places. He actually asked the ambassador for the United States of England to get his golf course fixed up in England. This is a criminal enterprise. This is what Putin's been doing for decades, and also killing people on foreign soil. Listen, I don't know what's about to happen to the young lady who's about to testify, or if she's going to testify or not, but people are coming up missing and dying. Roger Stone threatened the president. He sent a coded message to this woman who's going to be what's the rapist guy? What's his name?
I know you're talking about. Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah. Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, but Ghislaine Maxwell is now supposed to slate to testify. Did you see that the federal judge's son was murdered and her husband was shot?
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at. They sent the message to the judge, don't you dare. Now, this is what happens in Russia. It's happening in America, and ain't nobody saying jack squat. They're killing people. Look, he sent a coded message to her saying, listen, she's a good person. She's great. She's been, done wrong. So basically, he
said, I hope everything works out right for her. He did.
Yeah. Hey, listen, hey, Mr. Vic, you play spades, right? Candace, you play spades? You play spades?
Absolutely.
Right. You get your butt whipped for talking across the table.
Exactly.
He's talking across the table to her right now. And she's getting the message. I could be like Roger Stone, or I could be like Cohen and be punished. That's why they try to send Cohen back to jail.
Mike,
you do the wrong thing
right now, right?
What's
Mike,
that?
He's manipulating the entire political process, right? So Mike,
no,
how does he get away with that then, Mike? How does he get away with
political process? The legal process, legal law.
Both. To be honest with you, both. As long as he has the Senate backing him.
Well, listen. I want to talk about a name that goes unmentioned as much. William Barr. All right? William Barr.
His personal attorney, essentially.
Sure. He's the one sending in the troops to our cities to quell so-called violence or what have you. He is the top law enforcement officer for the country, and he's letting down criminals like Roger Stone. He's putting down judges and breaking up the 36th district of New York. What is going on in our country? It is happening right before our eyes. Do I have to scream with my hair on fire for everybody to know what's going on? This is crazy.
So Trump knows who to place in what position in order to bring about the desired effect that he's looking for. That's what that tells me.
I want to read a couple of these Facebook comments. I'm going to get a couple of these Facebook comments in. I'm going to read quite a few of them, so bear with me. Let's see. Let me find one I want to read. So Tim says, remember Hillary was ahead in the polls right up until the end. Bobby said Hillary doesn't have 145,000 dead on her hands. Why do you guys always bring up Obama and Hillary? Trump is your president. They also have personal deals in China.
That's right.
Carl said, OMG, Mike, Trump is not running a criminal enterprise. Bobby said Trump is running a criminal enterprise.
That's right.
Carl said General Barr is protecting Americans. Mike, okay.
General, the general.
Yeah. Listen, so next week I'm wearing my Army hat because of what your boy Carl is just trying to call him General. See, let me say this: when Attorney General Holder was in, if I would Professor Vic or Candace or anybody would have called him General at the time, white folks like Carl would have got you straight and said he's not a military, he's a civilian. And let me get you straight, Carl. He's not a general, he's an attorney general. That's just a name, but it's not a nomenclature when it comes to military. He's sending in military troops. I agree with that, which is wrong, but he's doing that type of thing. But we got to clarify here. He's an attorney general. He's not a general of the military. Quit calling him a general. I take issue with that as a military man. Stop that.
Hey, I gotta read this comment. This one has to be read.
All right.
It says, person, woman, man, telephone, TV. There, I'm a genius.
Exactly. That's right.
That's the line of the week right there.
That's a good one,
He
Bobby.
aced the test.
Hey, Bobby, your godly dog. I gotta see the good dog in person, man. You're making some good points. I don't know if Bobby's a girl or a guy. I can't take that, to heart. But great points, Bobby. Great points, Bobby.
Yeah, and then Carl said he didn't call you by your color, Mike.
By your color. I don't know what that means, Carl. I mean, listen. Hey, Carl, that's another thing. If you want to acknowledge my color, what are you saying? I'm a man. You want to call me a woman? I don't understand what the difference is, but go ahead with that, Carl. And listen, and let me say this like this. All right, so you want to acknowledge my color, and you think that's something that helps or what have you. But as soon as somebody who's a transsexual or whatever says, just acknowledge me as a person, and Bobby just made that point. You just acknowledge me as a person, there's a problem. Listen, I can be called a person, but I can identify you as who you are, man, woman, tall, short, dark skin, light skin. Nobody has a problem with that. It's when you raise a Confederate flag. It's when you put racist policies in place. It's when you have people sending federal troops in the cities, knocking people out and snatch them in the cars.
That said that the pandemic was downplayed by every media outlet in January and February. Let me tell y'all Trump apologists something. We heard out of his mouth. We heard him say that the pandemic was no big deal and that in April when it warmed up, we'd be fine. So put it on the media. At some point,
Yeah, no doubt.
are y'all ever gonna make this man take any responsibility? Are you ever gonna own up to how you're being misled?
No.
Or is the thought of the fact that you've been misled so bad that you've got to let that cognitive dissonance just rest?
Yeah.
Like you are so afraid to admit you were lied to. You were bamboozled. You cannot still believe the stuff that comes out of his mouth.
So Candace, you can't reach these people. Listen, I understand that, but they're just using talking points. And I think you and I have talked about this before. They've got to maintain the lie, right? One of the biggest lies of our beautiful country that I love dearly is the lie that Black people were not smart. They weren't human. They were 3/5 of a person. You have to put out lies and put them in paper and continue to lie and say that they're lies or say that they're the truth just to maintain your status quo. Carl and the other guy who just mentioned that's maintaining the status quo. Now,
but here's the thing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I'm sure both Zach and Carl are not wealthy enough to even matter. So don't think that once this goes down, once it's all said and done, if it happens the way you want it to happen, that you will matter. You don't matter. And so when the dictatorship, wait a minute. And so when the dictatorship happens, because you don't have the money to be on that level, you will be treated just as poorly as anybody else. Y'all love to bring up, hold on, when we're talking about the slavery of Black people, y'all want to bring up Irish people so bad. So let me help you out. Don't forget that the Irish, white people, were once slaves too. Don't think that you can't be enslaved again. You don't have enough money to have this argument with us. You just don't. You don't.
But let me say this. This is what I try to get across to white brothers and sisters, or Irish brothers and sisters, or many others. Listen, we have more in common than we do on the other side. And all I want to say to you is this: if Barack Obama were bringing in federal troops to my city, I'd have a problem with it, right? But if Barack Obama was doing what y'all are letting Trump do, you would have a problem with it. Well, I remember when General Holder, and I'm gonna use that term facetiously, when General Holder went over to the White House one time, they raised a fuss. When what was the female who was Attorney General? When she met having to run into Hillary Clinton, run into Bill Clinton. This ain't even he ain't even a candidate. He's just a candidate's husband. Having to just run into Bill Clinton on the tarmac, talking about their kids, they raised hope. But William is coordinating with Trump every night at the White House. He's coming to bars, places. Bars giving them talking points every day, and y'all ain't said a peep about the liberties that you're losing right now. You want to talk about Second Amendment rights? As soon as you see a bunch of black folks have their weapons, you got a problem with it. So what are we talking about here? We got more in common, Paul and Jack. You and I got more in common because we are poor folk, because we are regular folk. We got more.
Zach said the 94 crime bill. Mike, Zach said the 94 crime bill was a racist policy. First Step Act was the opposite. Carl said, Candace, I am Irish. So then, Carl, you should be afraid that you're going to become a slave. Zach said, if you have a problem with the response, call your governor. Bobby said, I am a red-blooded American, and the rest is just noise. Zach said, I challenge anyone to say the crime bill wasn't designed to lock up people of color. And Bobby said, Susan Rice, but I think you were talking about Janet Reno. But this is the thing about all of that, because that's cute that you want to come to a focus, but my focus is not going to change. It is what it is. And for you to say if we have a problem, call our governor. The governor of Michigan has handled this response to COVID-19 better than the president of the United States.
Big Gretch been on the job. Big Gretch. Now listen, this is another problem too. They'll attack Big Gretch, right? I'm sure Zach and Carl and the rest of them can't stand Big Gretch because she's a woman of power. She's a woman who's making sound policy happen. And look, listen. I know we had a dip in the first in Michigan, but one of the good reasons that we don't have a super blow up like Florida and Texas and some of these other places is because people just are wearing masks around here. You know, at least she put that policy in place, and people stormed the state capitol to fight it. People like Zach, people like Carl were against that policy.
We've done making people vote at gunpoint
with weapons. Now we find out that was right, but I still deal with people every day who say, man, you don't need to wear a mask. Why should you wear a mask? The mask is worse than anything else. That is not sound science. But these people reject science because it doesn't fall into their political realm and their political sphere when they want to talk all this nonsense. Listen, I can encourage everybody to read the book 1984. This is double speak. This is a political speak. This is exactly as the author of 1984 called it. It's happening right under our eyes with this president. Listen, I said one thing, but I didn't say what you thought I said. Kelly McEnany comes on, who I believe probably is an Irish sister, who's lying for this president through her teeth every time she talks. And if he feels it's wrong, he says something else. I mean, can you imagine lies and telling over and over again? Now, Carl and Zach, they want to believe that? I don't have any problem with it. You go with that. But believe me, Carl and Zach, when it all goes down, you guys have more in common with us than you do with the president of the United States of America.
So Carl is saying a couple of things here. Let me help y'all out. Carl said loss of liberties like curfew by the Flint mayor. Mike, oops, you forgot that one. Bobby Johnson said curfew stays by the Carl said you can't cry about loss of liberty and not sound alarm about what happened in Flint. Zach said they shouldn't be wearing military uniforms. We can agree on that.
That's right. And I totally agree on that.
But to Carl's point, how about the loss of life? How about the loss of life versus liberty, right?
Well,
what could have happened if we would have had that curfew in Flint or in Michigan? What would have happened?
I guess, but this is
thousands and thousands of lives have been lost.
This is the thing. Where can you say that your liberty has been lost if in the middle of a pandemic with an executive order in place, you still went to the Capitol with guns and she didn't turn anybody, she didn't turn the state troopers against you. What are you talking about?
Hello.
They were literally standing over senators with guns strapped to their bodies. There was nothing turned against them. How can you say loss of liberty? Wait, how can you say loss of liberty when, yes, it says that you're mandated to wear masks, but if you say you have a medical reason, they don't say, well, get out, you can't be in the store. I am confused. Exactly. I feel like what's crazy is that someone trying to save your life feels like they're taking it, whereas somebody that's really taking your liberties, you're fine with.
Well, listen, I may be wrong, but I'm gonna put this out here. A lot of times they pass curfews and they enforce curfews sometimes with this high crime and things like that going on. I'm sure Carl doesn't have a problem with a curfew being put in black areas or police doing stop and frisk or police doing patrols and stopping black people at a high rate who just have nice cars, because he feels that's necessary to happen because those people need it. Now, when we talk about, listen, as American citizen, it is my duty to protect my family. It's my duty to protect my friends against this unprecedented, I'm gonna say that again, unprecedented virus. This doesn't happen every year. That happened since 1920. And even then they wore masks and they stayed indoors.
Bobby said that he left his house anytime he wanted. Let's see. Zach said it's the governor's job to handle the response on the state level. The people in the states with outrageous case numbers should attack their governors, not the president. Sounds like something very interesting. I'll touch that in a minute. Zach said even Kamala Harris called out Biden for his racist legislation and segregation of busing. He also said that you have to vote for him or you ain't black. Are we really just going to let everything slide? Zach also said if you want to replace him, then how about a better candidate?
All right, so let me address this first.
Two evils, y'all.
Hold on. First of all, let me say this. Sometimes I try to take a little bit of liberty with my white colleagues and brothers and sisters who are hanging around black folks sometimes. So sometimes, and this is what probably happened to Biden, and we talked about this when he said you ain't black. Sometimes you hang around a bunch of your black friends and you kick them with them and they say some things and then you're like, well, I can say it too, but you don't sound right out your white mouth. See, if somebody black would have said exactly what Biden said, probably nobody would have had a problem with it. If Elijah Cummings would have said it, or if John Lewis would have said it, nobody would probably had a problem with it. But because it came out of a white mouth, they had a problem with it. But I think Biden's problem was he was hanging around his black friends and he picked up some of the vernacular.
I'm gonna disagree with you there, Mike.
I don't want to rehash that.
No, let me tell you. Let me tell you real quick. Let me tell you why I disagree with you real quick. Let me tell you real quick. Because you're saying that if John Lewis or somebody would have said it, wouldn't have been a problem. But what I'm saying to you is, I think the statement itself would have been a problem. I think it didn't matter who said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I think no matter who would have said it, Mike, it would have been a problem.
All right, so Candace, let me get
the argument would have been not all black people vote the same or think the same, blah, 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 blah. So I just think the statement in general. I hear your point about what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you in the fact that I'm agreeing with you in the opposite way, Mike. I'm saying that it could have been anybody, not just Joe Biden. If anybody would have made that statement would have been a problem.
All right, so let me say this. So Candace, let me say this. Here's where the problem comes in. Do you listen to what you and I are talking about? That ain't even the point. The point I'm trying to make is this. Zach just introduced it, a talking point to knock down Biden. We just spent 5 minutes talking about nonsense. When Trump has called us asshole countries, he's called good people on both sides. He said the Confederate flag is cool. He said that this year. Then what Biden said, let's talk about what Trump said.
Forget what Biden said, man. Forget what Biden said.
Mike,
let's talk about what Trump said.
We didn't spend 5 minutes on it. We spent 1 minute on it because I spent 20 seconds talking to you.
But it was introduced.
I do want to read some of these comments. Mike never said curfew, black areas. I am at a disadvantage when you talk for me. If I don't talk for you, then you don't talk for me. Bobby said we are.
In front of
Joe Biden is better than Trump. Becky said that sounds like Trump supporters online. Zach said if you want to vote for Biden, that's your choice. But let's be honest about who he is, his history, the fact that he's obvious and terrifying mental deficiencies. Casey said, I call fair game. Statement didn't bother me at all. Carl said Biden has a closed head wound and off. Biden is not a leader. Oh, Carl, please don't talk about head wounds, baby. Casey said, I agree with Mike.
Yeah. Hey, what up, Casey? Casey, what's happening, bro? Right?
Hey, real quick. I just want to, this is what I want to say to Carl's head wound comment, right? This is what I want to say to that. Let's revisit something that Bobby said earlier. And this will be the answer for for Carl's head wound thing, and we'll move on. Let's quote Bobby. Person, woman, man, telephone, TV, there. We're all geniuses. There you go. That's the answer for that.
That's
right.
Move
on, Mike. Move on. Don't even touch it.
Oh, Lord.
Don't even touch it.
We don't even get into who's cognizant. We can hear this man say 1,000 lies, and he's okay. But Biden just makes a couple foibles, and he's got a problem. But listen, let's move forward. We got federal DEA agent coming into our community, trying to stir up everybody before the November election. Now, also, let me mention this point. We need to start having a plan in place. When Trump loses, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he does, when Trump loses, will he leave quietly? Will Zach want him to leave? Will Kyle want him to leave? They won't. And they
if it's close, he won't leave quietly, Mike. If it's close, he won't leave quietly. He's already set the stage for that.
And he's already setting it up. And we got to be very careful how we deal with this man, because he's the most dangerous man in America right now.
Hey, real quick, speaking of him being the most dangerous man in America, let me tell you why I concur. Does anybody know what NEPA is?
Yes.
Does anybody know what NEPA is? For those of you who do not know what NEPA is, and I'm saying NEPA, N-E-P-A, that is the National Environmental Policy Act. It was signed into law in 1970 and requires federal agencies to assess the environmental effects of their proposed actions prior to making decisions. And just a few things that NEPA is supposed to cover is making decisions on permit applications, adopting federal land management actions, and constructing highways and other publicly owned facilities. Using the NEPA process, agencies are supposed to evaluate the environmental and related social and economic effects of their proposed actions. Agencies are also provided opportunities for public review and comment on those evaluations. So the reason I brought up NEPA and saying it's a very dangerous thing, because Mike, you want to jump in this conversation here, is that they're doing some serious rollbacks on environmental policies in the Environmental Policy Act. And I think that's something we need to pay attention to, especially us being in Flint.
That's right.
We know firsthand what happens.
Right. We're the epicenter of this environmental movement, particularly when it comes to water and clean water, right here in Flint, Michigan. And we are suffering from him going in, trying to remove lead and copper rules, to be able to put more contaminants in water. This is a tragedy happening right before our eyes. Our water is becoming more polluted because this man is president. So he's polluting the environment, he's polluting the politics, he's polluting the country in general. We've got to make sure we get him out, because the NEPA is suffering. Our environmental policy is suffering because of what's happening in Flint and Chicago. And we're having water problems up and down the eastern seaboard. We're having water problems in America and all over the country and around the world. And he even pulled us out of a lot of the treaties that we have with other countries because it deals with the environment. This is something we should be taking a close heed to, and we got to make sure we cover some ground on this.
So Mike, with regard to that, what role do you think the infrastructure plays in that too? Is it related somewhat, maybe indirectly?
Well, absolutely. There's a way for us to put in new infrastructure that's innovative, that takes us back to natural waterways and things of that nature to get out contaminants in soil. But we're not doing it in that policy because we're not paying attention to the infrastructure. We're not putting the funding in. And that goes right back to the Senate, who's holding up, being on vacation for the whole summer while we have a virus going on, while we should be putting in new infrastructure to do certain things and take care of people
but
in the community.
We've got to be careful with that, because you've got to think about the fact that disruptive federal projects like highways or power plants are part of the problem, that you put them in places that are predominantly communities of color, predominantly where Black and brown people are, and it's polluting the air, it's polluting the soil, it's polluting the water. You're putting it in place not only without having to answer, but you're rolling back regulations as well. One of the big things that I was concerned with, the Dow Chemical is in Midland. And so when they had that dam breach, I was concerned about whether any of the chemicals had gotten into any of the standing water and how safe that is. So I think that we've got to really consider how these projects, even when you talk about the building of the highways, or you talk about these plants or these different things that they want to do, you've got to consider what that means for the environment. You've got to consider how that when it as it relates to pandemics.
Think about this.
Come around, but when you have a community that is already at a deficit as far as healthcare goes, and then you add on something that ruins the environmental factors around them, whether it is their air, whether it is their water, whether it is their soil, you add those pollutants on top of those different factors. When pandemics do come around, you will see a higher mortality rate in those communities, because they already have every factor set up against them where they cannot fight, as far as their immune system goes, against these viruses and diseases that are coming up, because their immune systems have already been weakened.
But Candace, you already know the answer to this too, right? Follow the money. That's your answer right there. Because essentially what Trump believes is that people who are pro-environment are tree huggers. Follow the money. That's the bottom line, I think. What do you say?
Look. Well, we're having a problem right here in Flint, Michigan. So the Saginaw Bay, the beaches and things like that are closed in certain areas. So now during the pandemic, we want to get outside. We want to spread out a little bit. We may want to go to the beach or get out in nature and go by the lake and breathe fresh air, right? At a socially distant level. We can't do that now because they're contaminating Saginaw Bay with fecal matter. Other places are contaminated, and nobody's cleaning this up because the infrastructure funding isn't there to do that. These are problems that are intertwined, and we need to understand how that affects us. You go out, and you got, like you said, Professor Vic, you got to follow the money also.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
That's what the GOP's belief system is. It's all about their money.
Well, and we see that. Well, we see that, and the money isn't going to infrastructure unless it goes to somebody who's got connections to this criminal enterprise that we call the Trump. Well, criminal enterprise is running. It's up and running. I don't know, Carl. You might be okay with that, but that's not a good thing, man. They're running a criminal enterprise right now in America from China. This is why he's talking about China pretty bad. He's trying to get leverage for his daughter's businesses. He doesn't care about us. He's trying to leverage his businesses. This is why you see people beating up Mexico right now. He's trying to get a hold of Mexican governments and things like that and send money and oil money to his buddies and friends. This is not a thing that he's caring about the American people and what's good for us. You see that with the things that happen with the environment and EPA and things like that. But look at what's happening. We're losing our ground on the American stage. We're becoming has-beens. We're not leaders anymore. We're following. I
think that we really need to pay attention, and I want to make sure we stay there with NEPA. We need to stay focused on that. We need to understand that NEPA gives communities of colors a voice, and that as we are suffering from climate change, these rollbacks are giving corporate polluters a green light to continue to pollute communities that were already in danger. And so I just want to make sure that, and we're going to talk about that more as we move forward, because especially here in the city of Flint, we have to be vigilant when it comes to things surrounding the environment. We have to be vigilant when it comes to those protections, because we know firsthand what happens when your government does not care about the safety and well-being of people. So again, we're going to pay attention to NEPA. We're going to make sure that we can do we do what we can to shine a light on the fact that they're trying to roll NEPA back, that they've already began to roll back for NEPA actually, and the dangers that it poses to communities of color, and how, again, it's giving corporate polluters a green light. So
well, listen,
we've got to
you're talking about them going back. Traditionally in America, like you talked about people of color in our areas. Now, we fought a polluting plant that was burning trash on the east side of Flint, right? We're in poor neighborhoods. But traditionally, if you live by the tracks, that was the most polluted, the most dumped area was always in the black area, right by the tracks. The trains would come through and they dump coal in our area. If you go downtown Detroit, the River Rouge right now, oil and coal stacks are being dumped all in those areas that are predominantly people of color, Hispanic, and poor people. They could care less. And other people are moving out to these areas, and they're finding out some of those areas too are contaminated.
Mike, not to mention the remnants from the Manhattan Project. Remember that a few months back, about 4 or 5 months ago in the Detroit area, right?
Absolutely.
Where nuclear waste was potentially dumped in waterways.
In waterways, yes. And that and they're letting that happen right under our eyes. We're drinking that water in. Now we're talking about birth defects. We're talking about kids who've been affected by that with Down syndrome. And there people are trying to say, well, it's because you take vaccines. No, it's because we let them dump chemicals in our water.
Right. And so
this is crazy, man.
This happened on July 15th. He made the announcement in Atlanta. And this is the final rollback on something that would make the federal agency, it would be a requirement for federal agencies to engage in a review process to identify any possible pollutants. And so this was like the final rollback on that. So we're going to shed more light on that and talk about that more in the coming weeks. But I do want to go ahead and get us closed out here. I do want to say just one thing before we hit that last little 1 minute, conversation from everybody, is that the argument seems to go back. Everybody, we're talking about who the president is now. And so everybody wants to say, well, Obama did this, the Clintons did that. Yeah, whatever. We're talking about right now. And right now, we have a lot of things that are working against people as a whole. And I think that and we appreciate the different opinions. We don't need you to agree. That's great. We want to hear what you're thinking. But I just don't want us to really focus on the fact that at the end of the day, and I'm going to say this again, and I'm not even trying to be funny, you're not wealthy enough to defend this man. Your life doesn't matter to him at the end of the day. Because the same way that we're bringing up people in these environmental rollbacks, you live in these cities with us. So the same way that we are affected, unless you can afford to just pick up and move somewhere wealthy that won't be affected, that should be all the more of a reason for you to stand as it relates to the NEPA rollback, because you're going to be just as affected by these environmental hazards as we are. And anytime you want to keep making the argument, you want to say, okay, don't make everything racial. Fine, let's talk about money. You're not wealthy enough to have an argument in favor of Donald Trump. You are voting against your own interests. You're fighting against yourself. You're killing the environment around yourself when you fight for this. So, I mean, you can make whatever choice you want, but and I understand the reason you can't have the race argument is because you're not black. So I get it. So here's the thing. Let's put it in a way that you understand. You're not wealthy enough to have an argument in favor of him. Your life doesn't matter to him. Mike, 1 minute. What's your closing argument?
Okay, so I want to talk about this criminal enterprise. Listen, they're taking out the CDC isn't being able to give COVID data. In the midst of the worst crisis we've had, he's taking it away from the CDC so he can manipulate the data. He's funding money to his businesses and friends. We have a president who's sitting in federal troops in the cities to make more violence, to upset people and cause more violence. Portland probably would have calmed down had they not been sending in the troops to knock heads and upset people. We have a crisis going on right now. They're killing judges' kids. We have a crisis right now going on in our country, and we got to wrap our arms around it. this is something we need to deal with as a country. And I want to encourage everybody to vote now. Get your absentee ballots. You don't know what's going to happen in November. Be ready. Anything could happen, and anything might happen. Let's get ready.
All right, Vic.
Quickly put, remember, people, if you're looking for a leader, look in the mirror. We are the leaders that we're looking for. We, the people. Peace.
All right, that's fine. And I guess I'm going to end with, let's see. Carl said, I'm riding the Trump train till the wheels fall off. Give it up, Candace. The wheels fell off 3 years ago, so I don't know. I don't know.
Following it to the abyss.
Fell off 3 years. But Becky said you must love Mike. He's so serious. Bobby said, Paul, thanks, guys. You all did great. We'll check you next time. Stay safe. Carl said my bad for whatever the reason. Becky said yes, Mike. So I'm just gonna leave you with the final thought of I need you to and if you I can't do anything like you said. Whatever you feel is your best interest, fine. But I need you to look up NEPA. Look up NEPA. All right, and we're gonna talk about it some more. But I need you to take a look at NEPA. That I'm closing with that. And again, what is NEPA? It's a National Environmental Policy Act. I need to look at what was rolled back on July 15th and how that affects you in your area. I want you to be concerned with your environment. Be concerned with your air. Be concerned with your soil. Be concerned with your water. Be concerned with what is going on around you environmentally. I mean, you can believe or not believe in climate change. You can believe or not believe that the environment affects you. I do not have that luxury of being from Flint, Michigan. So my final thought for you this evening is to look up NEPA for yourself. Be ready to be back here next week and we can engage in a dialogue about NEPA and how you feel. Until next time, this has been Whose Opinion Is It Anyway? We're here every week from 5 to 6 p.m. I'm Candace.
And Victor.
Peace.
Mike never focuses. Mike never.
Peace out.